Good afternoon and welcome to this occasional vlog. Today we're back at Hindhead Common, otherwise known as the Devils Punchbowl.
I will not bow down. Keep putting me off, I'm not gonna change my mind. You're headstrong forward, but this time around I'm taking my time. Don't push me, I'm not coming down, I'm not giving up. Oh, don't rush me, I made up my mind, going straight to the top.
So this vlog is actually two stories whilst we wander around this impressive geographical site. One involves gods and devils, the other involves a grisly murder. So the first part is about why this is called the Devils Punchbowl in the first place. That in part is a wider story covering a local village and some additional landmarks. So local legend goes, Thor, the god of thunder, lived in a local village just over there, and the devil would try and do his hardest to wind him up, as he would. In part that took place again just over there. There's a range of hills called the Devil's Jumps, and the devil would jump around, hop from hilltop to hilltop, doing everything he can to wind Thor up without any success. Got really on the devil's nerves that he wasn't managing to provoke Thor. So what he did is what a lot of bullies like him would do. If name calling isn't going to work, he took to throwing stuff at him. He grabbed a great big handful of earth and threw it at Thor. This here is what's left of that hole gouged out the earth by the devil. So he grabbed a handful of soil. It's got big hands, I could say that thing much for him, and he flung it over there in the direction of Thor. Unfortunately, even that didn't work, because so legend goes, Thor dodged that missile, ended up sailing off, landing in the English Channel, and we know that lump of soil today as the Isle of Wight. Somebody wants to get on with this walk, so I think that's what we do. So that is the tale of why this place is known locally, and I suppose actually much wider, as the Devils Punchbowl. Growing up in this area and being of a certain age, I know how much change has happened here over the last 20 or so years. When I first learned to drive, this area looked distinctly different, in part because what is now a bridleway was actually the main route from London to Portsmouth. Over the last 20 years that has changed. I think one of the largest tunnels in the UK has been dug through these hills, and the Portsmouth to London main road, the A3, now goes through that tunnel, and what is left, the old Portsmouth to London road, is now returned somewhat to nature. We're actually going down into the Punchbowl itself, in part because I made a bit of a goof trying to take a route and film at the same time. So we're going down into the Punchbowl and back up the other side. Now down pretty much in the base of this bowl. You see how deep it goes. I think it does go down a little bit further. We've just come down from up there somewhere, and it was a steep descent through brambles and everything. I think the ascent up the other way will be not quite as steep. We've picked a nice day actually to do this.
I'm looking around, yeah, you all giving up. You need a slap in your face, time to wake the hell up. Follow blindly, am I the only one who's not giving up? Hey, what's going on now? Do you see what I mean? Nobody gives a damn, and still they bow down, just appeasing their game to the miserable. You're not kidding me, no matter how hard you try. So just stay off. Come near and I'll leave. I'm just fine getting by. Woo!
Right, well, this is where the story of the most foul murder starts. As I said, this road, in fact, you can see that yellow line up there is where the A3, the old London road, ran. Portsmouth was and still is, a very important naval dockyard. As the story goes, a sailor returning to Portsmouth from London, walking down that road, stopped off at a local hostelry to have a drink, and was befriended by a couple of characters. The name of the sailor, unfortunately, remains unknown even to today. But the characters, Edward Longan, Michael Caffey, and James Marshall, by the looks of the inscription there, on September 24th, 1786, they followed the unfortunate sailor down this road, and at this point decided to do him in. Let's say they were captured. The three men named on that stone were hung just a little way up the road there. Let me bring you close. Not sure, when was this erected? So, according to the inscription there, this stone was erected actually on the same year that crime was committed. It says on the front, to look at the back, the inscription on the back. Oh, the inscription on this side, because this is a more exposed side of the stone, is much more difficult to read. This stone was erected by order and at the cost of James Stillwell, Esquire, of Cosford, 1786. I'm not entirely sure who James Stillwell was to have had that engraved and erected on the point at the spot of this murder. So this notice board gives a little more information. So the sailor, as I said, was befriended by the men at the Red Lion Inn at nearby Thursley. This is where it gets quite sick. The sailor, knowing the men had no money to buy food or drink, he bought them an ale with the golden guinea he had received in his last sea trip, and rather than just accepting that generosity, they followed him and murdered him, stripping him of his money and his clothes. There's Gibbet Hill, where the men were hung. They do say that country folk are a strange breed. According to that, the local Justice of the Peace, Reverend James Fielding, was supposedly a highwayman himself. I can only assume that he felt that their actions, the actual murder, was beyond the pale. The sailor is actually buried in Thursley, but nobody knows who he was. So we've moved on to Gibbet Hill, where the punishment was dished out to the murderers of that sailor. Having been caught and tried, the guys that murdered the sailor were hung here. I believe their bodies were actually left hanging for quite some time as a warning to others. It's quite a sight as well. You can see in the background, that's looking out over the Devils Punchbowl. Anybody coming along what was the old Portsmouth to London road would see that a mile off and would have second thoughts about committing any crime. So unfortunately, having left the guilty hanging as a warning to others, that area gained a reputation for being haunted and being where witches would practice their dark arts. The only way that the local landowners could shake off that myth was to build that stone cross. So that is what they did. At exactly the same point that the guys were hung, they put up that stone cross. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that vlog. We'll be back here, I'm sure, many times. If you enjoyed this, why don't you hit that thumbs up button? If you've got any comments, anything you felt you wanted to know more information about, might come back and revisit some of the things we've already covered here. If you think there's somebody that might enjoy it, why don't you share it with them? Share the love. And if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, why don't you hit that subscribe button and keep up to date with what we're doing, both on the occasional and the daily side. Until next time, I will see you then.